work weeks and I have non-work weeks. I have times when I record and I have times when I think about things. I have times when I vision or plan, and then I have times when I actually show up to a call. There are times of the month when it makes sense to do certain tasks, and there are times of the month when it does not.
Welcome to Money Musings, a podcast that breaks down money, investing, and wealth with zero BS and unapologetic irreverence. I'm your host and money co-conspirator, Stephanie Zenos. Let's get into it.
You guys, being a woman is so fucking awesome. It's basically like we're constantly rotating through various superpowers and the world is your oyster. When it comes to managing your money, there are times of the month when it makes sense to do certain tasks, and there are times of the month when it does not. So what if you could structure all of your money, all of your investing, all of your decisions at the best possible time of the month so that you could have the best possible outcomes with your money? I'm just saying, I haven't always believed this. I haven't always been so psyched about being a woman. In fact, in the past, I was probably like, I can do whatever a man can do and probably better. Very competitive, not sexy energy. But now I'm realizing there's so many cool things about being a woman, and I'm really leaning into the energetic and spiritual side of that, and also the fucking tactical side. So let's get real. There are things that in my business I do in certain times of the month and don't do them in other times. Where did this all come from? Well, let me tell you. I read a book. It was called Fast Like a Girl. It was by Mindy Pelz. It fucking rocked my world. It was basically like, you're a different human, different times of the month. You shouldn't be doing the same things all the time. Well, duh. And probably women know this, and I'm just new to this, but whatever. Let's apply it to money. Let's have fun with it. Since Fast Like a Girl, I have taken that methodology and I have thought about what to do in my business. I have work weeks and I have non-work weeks. I have times when I record and I have times when I think about things. I have times when I vision or plan, and then I have times when I actually show up to a call, talk about things, get into it, try to convince you that what I'm saying makes sense. And those times are when I'm hopefully more charismatic. Not like today. Today is not a charismatic day. Today is a getting shit done day. But here we are. Hopefully you still believe what I say. Or at least you're curious about it. So let's dive in. So yeah, if you could design your money and investing so that everything in your life gets easier and more effective, what do you think? Here's what I have kind of sorted out in my own financial life. And here's when I do certain things. So I broke it into kind of 4 phases. There's menstrual phase, follicular phase, ovulation phase, and luteal phase. Duh, nothing new or something to write home about there. But in our menstrual phase, we're focused on things that are around awareness, right? This is bigger picture. Follicular phase is all about strategic thinking, learning. Ovulation is all about action and expansion, showing up, charisma. And the luteal phase is all about execution and optimization. Let's start with the menstrual phase. So in this time for your money, you want to focus on things that bring in reflection, truth. It's a low energy but high intuition time. So if you've been thinking about making different money moves, then this could be a time to really check in with yourself and be like, okay, are the moves that I've been thinking about making really aligned? What are my actual bigger goals here? So truly tapping into the biggest possible heart-touching intuition, biggest picture. This is not a phase where we're executing. This is not a time to be productive. In fact, if you try to make a budget or review your expenses, you'll probably drive yourself insane. Please do not do that. But if you want to have some review, and just look at things over the past year, ask yourself about how it felt. No judgment, no calculating, just awareness. Looking at broader themes across your spending or finances. Looking back on your goals and assessing hey, how do I feel I did? Where did my money leak out? Did I notice any patterns? Also asking yourself about your expenses, what feels aligned and what feels draining, right? This is a great time for that. Or in terms of managing your money, what feels aligned and what feels draining. Something I think that would be good to journal on in this phase is what am I tolerating financially? Or what am I paying for that I'm not actually getting good juice out of? What's something that I've been doing for a while that just isn't really feeling aligned or good? Again, in this phase, I would not be making big investments. I would not be negotiating. I would not be doing complex planning. We're thinking more financial sleuthing, truth telling, alignment, but not actual fixing. So I hope that makes sense. So for myself, like this is when I'm reflecting on my business and my financial choices and being like, okay, what do I think about those? Do they feel right in the system? Like, is there anything that I'm just doing that I really am not enjoying? And like, are there ways that I want to pivot? Also looking back over my goals and my progress. So like, okay, what were the things I wanted to manifest? And now that I have them, like, are they giving me the juice that I was hoping for? Is the juice worth the squeeze? Is this really what I wanted? This amazing house that I magically manifested? Why, yes, it is. Okay, perfect. All right, then comes the follicular phase. So this is like days 16 through 13 of our cycle. The time for fresh energy, ideas, strategy, curiosity. I almost think about like my mind here and like this open mind and like this flowing of thought. There's also like lots of optimism. I'm feeling more open. I'm good at learning and absorbing. So for me, the best financial activities in my follicular phase are things that have to do with like setting or refining financial goals, like getting a little bit into the weeds and like exploring strategies. So for my investments, this is a really good time to like really think about the future of humanity and like what things might be in the future of humanity and how could I invest in those things, or how could I potentially be a part of that, or any strategic thinking, whether it's like tax strategy, business strategy, any type of strategy is like really juicy this time of the month. New income streams, like other ways I could make money, big ideas and thoughts. I also like it for like building big structures. So coming up with new expense categories for my budget, or like asking myself in my budget, like how do I want to structure this so I can really see what I want to see here? Also like dashboards, creating dashboards. What do I want to be tracking? What matters to me? I think the what matters could be a little bit more of the menstrual phase, but then like, how am I actually going to track it? What's my plan for tracking that? Doing big research on new investments. So, okay, which ETFs, which funds, what real estate could be fun, like these kinds of things. And one thing I will say is like, because it's such a dreamy, juicy, energetic time, you don't necessarily want to act yet. We don't want to act too quickly on every idea. We're like really humming here. So it might not be the time to actually click the button and make the investment, but it is the time to like do the research, maybe make some decisions and like really like feel into it and let yourself educate yourself, get into that flow, have big thoughts, all that good stuff. Maybe like designing the plans, but not executing. That could be a way to say, or not fully committing yet. Next comes our ovulation phase. So around, let's say day 14 to 18. This is when we have like our big confidence, charisma, just dripping with like, goodness. So this is a great time to have communication, visibility, decisiveness, potentially. This is like our money making and money moving power window. So which activities make sense? Really big, important conversations. So conversations with partners about money, clients about money, family about money, anyone that money touches in your life. So we're having big conversations in our ovulation phase. Also, anything with negotiation. If you want to negotiate a raise at work, now is the time. If you need to negotiate a contract or anything that has to do with advocating for yourself, like now is the time. Also, if you're like selling, if you're making deals, closing deals, this is also a really good time to make decisions. So decisions around those investments that you researched in the follicular phase, any allocations of those investments, and asking for what you want. What do you want financially? Whether you're asking yourself or asking someone else, but like making the ask, now is the time when you're feeling juicy and clear and communication is flowing. So what do we want to avoid when we're in this juicy, charismatic time of the month? I would say it is a time for overconfidence. Sometimes I will like get to planning in this phase and I will commit myself to things that later I'm like, oh dang, like I do not have the energy for that. So rather than making impulsive yeses and saying yes to everything in this phase, I would say think more about execution and expansion of conversations, anything where you're like talking to another human being versus having that internal yes. Last but not least is the luteal phase. So this is days 19 through 28. Our energy really shifts hard here. So I would say like in the early part of the luteal phase, I'm focused on productivity. And if that surprises you, let me tell you, that's where I am right now. And I have been checking off boxes today like you have no idea. This is truly my get things done mode. And I would say that's so underrated for our finances. If you have like stuff that's been lying around that you need to do, call an old 401k provider, do a rollover, any of those annoying tasks. Early luteal phase, like up to day 23, is an amazing time to just check that shit off. So paying bills, automating transfers, rebalancing accounts, implementing plans you made earlier, organizing things, cleaning up subscriptions, all those stuff that we don't want to do normally, this is a good time for that. Think about operational checking off boxes, burning through a to-do list. And then in late luteal phase, we do nothing. Just kidding. Well, I do nothing. But anyway, days 24 through 28 is actually really good for discernment, for thinking critically and removing things, because we have no tolerance for BS. At least I know I don't. This is a really powerful phase because you're cutting away what no longer serves you. So auditing what you spend money on, looking at expenses, looking at your investments, and again, cutting out what's not working, identifying inefficiencies. This is the no BS, you cannot sneak past me phase of the month. So I love the idea of like looking through my expenses and being like, which of these things did I spend money on, which I fucking regret or I'm not happy about or did not give me the juice? It was not worth the squeeze. I think it's a great time for doing that. Also, boundaries, tightening boundaries, whether that's with other people and money, yourself with money. Anytime boundaries come in, I think that late luteal phase is like a great time to do it. It's also a good time to think about prices and spending. And again, maybe that is like another way of saying, is the juice worth the squeeze? But thinking about it for yourself, if you offer different things, how do you want to price yourself and your offerings? I think it's a really good time for like getting into those critical thinking and assessing value and what it's worth for you to do something. What's worth your time? How much money does it cost for you to do something? What is that energetic exchange of your energy for money? And how does that look? Great time of the month to like really be thinking about that. So yeah, it's not about like changing everything you do, but I do think it's fun for like refinement and just helping you feel more aligned. I know that this has changed the game for me with what I eat. This has changed the game for me with how I exercise, changed the game for me with how I run my business. And also when I didn't even think about sharing about how I manage my own money. But now that I did, I'm so glad I'm jumping on here. I'm giving you all the details. I would love to hear if this is something you guys are interested in. This is not something that I thought I'd be talking about on this podcast, but turns out I am a woman and turns out I am optimizing my life for being a woman. So yeah, I'm kind of enjoying actually how that's spilling over into all the parts of my life. So if you're interested in that, leave us a comment. Let me know. I'd be happy to talk more about this as it pertains to other things as well. See you next time.
Thanks for allowing me to be part of your money journey. If you heard something that made you think in a new way or expanded your views about money today, please be sure to like, subscribe, and leave me a cute little note in the form of a review. See you next time. As always, a quick but important reminder that everything I share here is solely for the purpose of your entertainment, education, and inspiration. Nothing in this podcast should be taken as personal financial, legal, or investment advice. Everyone's financial situation is wildly different, and that's why it's so important that you do your own research and decide what's right for you.